Hey, it's Sigrun with the Universal Pagan Temple, and today we are going to be discussing what Jack Posobiec went on a rant about on X today. So he decided he was going to say that Halloween is Christian and that it was established, and what did he say? 735 AD. That's real cute, dude. And then he says other goofy things. We're going to get into that in a moment. But I want to thank everybody for watching this video. And if you're new here, welcome. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for liking, sharing, commenting. And something new below is that I have available, you could buy me a coffee. I would really appreciate that. That type of donation service. Again, it's completely optional, but if you feel that you like my videos enough to give me a, couple of bucks, I'd really appreciate it. But let's get into the video here. Okay, so this morning, Jack Posobiec says Christmas, Easter, and Halloween do not have pagan origins, nor were they co-opted from pagan practices. All this pop history junk has been debunked. Oh, I'm sorry the YouTube lied to you. I have to do that type of voice when I'm reading these goofy Christian comments. And then he goes on to say, he digs the hole a lot deeper. He says, All Hallows Eve, now Halloween, began as the Christian vigil before All Saints' Day, 35 AD, to honor the martyrs who died for their faith. The name comes from hallowed, meaning holy, and Eve. Dumbass, you don't think we know what Eve means? Anyway, the night before the feast. Halloween is Christian. Okay. This was an absolute shitstorm today. And then he also had the audacity to respond to Milo Yiannopoulos saying, got him, Halloween is Christian, sorry losers. And then Jack Posobiec responded, Christians invented everything. Those words are going to haunt him, because some historian is going to come up to him at some point, and he knows that that statement is not true, because pagans came before Christianity. That is not up for debate. And paganism created a lot of things, writing, law, marriage, mathematics. I mean, I could go on, democracy, publics, armies, systems of, like I said, law, order, governments. It just goes on and on and on. What paganism invented before Christianity was even a thought. Anyway, let's get into it. I'm going to get into what Samhain is, and what All Saints' Day is, and where, Samhain morphed in to All Saints' Day. Now, Samhain is a Celtic fire festival marking the end of the Celtic year and the beginning of the year. And it was a time when the world, the veil between the worlds, the living and the dead, was at its thinnest. Therefore you could see spirits, as its cross-quarter Beltane, and it shares this high holy day within Celtic paganism with Lunaza and with Imbolc. So this day where the Celtic pagans had bonfires, dressed in costumes, offered to their ancestors. None of this came from Christianity, which, the thing about being able to, offer to your ancestors and see your ancestors, see spirits. This is a theme throughout different pagan faiths throughout the world, not just Europe. And Christians, they didn't have a concept for this, so they did take this. And why did they take this? Well, certain popes told their missionaries to. In specific, Pope Gregory I in 600 CE told in his letters to missionaries, and he urged them to repurpose pagan sites and pagan customs, including, pagan sites. Of course, we know that multiple Christian churches were built upon sacred pagan sites to, hijack that area from pagans. And at some point, it would be nice for a lot of these old churches in Europe to be reclaimed by pagans. I would love to see that. And then, because Pope Gregory came and went, and then it was Pope Boniface IV, and he established All Saints' Day in 609 CE, and initially it was All Martyrs' Day on May 13th. So Jack Posobiec saying it was on October 31st in 735. Nope, sorry. May 13th, in Taurus there. Then it was moved into November 1st by Pope Gregory III in the 8th century. Okay, and in specific, this was between 731 and 741 CE. So All Saints' Day was already established before this, before Pope Gregory III, in a very short period of time anyway, although people didn't live long back then anyway. But yeah, for Halloween, yes, the name did come from Hallows' Eve, but the activities on there were pagan influenced. Honoring these saints, honoring the dead. What are you doing when you're honoring a saint? You are honoring the dead. I mean, it's that simple. And it's okay if Catholics want to honor the dead that way. Go ahead, do it. But don't run around saying that these festivals are 100% Christian in origin. I made the video the other day, or yesterday rather, about Ted Nugent's wife saying that she's not going to be celebrating Halloween anymore because of its pagan origins and pagan influence. I'd much rather have Christians do that than have Christians outright say, "Oh, that's this holiday it's 100% Christian, has nothing to do with paganism." And the entire thing with this is that I know Jack Posobiec only looked so far, and he didn't want to look any further. And I'll get into a rant in that in a moment, but let's continue. So between 731 CE and 741 CE, Pope Gregory III rededicated a chapel in Rome, St. Peter's Basilica, in honor of All Saints, established November 1st as the official date of the Feast of All Saints in Rome. Okay. And then in the mid 800s CE, it was expanded, throughout the Christian world eventually. But yeah, back to my rant about how Jack Posobiec, with his selective research, and this is a problem with a lot of Christians, is that they will stop at a certain point when they can prove that, Christians, they think they proved that Christians did it first, but all you have to do is subtract a couple hundred, maybe 1,000 years, and you get paganism. It's actually a bit of a formula. You take a certain Christian practice, you subtract X number of years, and it equals out to paganism. Christianity has very limited, originality. And the only thing that is original to Christianity is their mindset. Uh, I guess, the way that they've manipulated and written the Bible in certain ways. You could call that original, but yeah, it's mostly the mindset and the manipulation. That's original to them, because that is completely unnatural and borders on the demonic. Yeah, there's what Christianity does to the brain, does to the subconscious of some of these people should be studied. Because, like I said, I did that video on Ted Nugent's wife yesterday, and now I'm doing one on Jack Posobiec. They have two opposing views on what to do with Halloween, and it's just like, does Christianity fry the brain that much? I left Christianity rather early, as a child, and it didn't have time to get into my brain like it does some of these other people, although a lot of these born again Christians were kind of secular to start off with, and then they went really hardcore into Christianity later on in life. So it should be studied in the way it just kind of fries the reasoning and fries the ability to say, hey, let's look back before Christianity, because we know that there was something before Christianity. It didn't start when humanity first gained consciousness. We know this, and it's just, yeah, it should be studied. It's, sometimes I get into the point where I'm looking at somebody making these wild claims, and I want to know why they're making these wild claims. I don't necessarily get nervous, I get curious. Um, that's just my personality, though. But thank you so much for watching and listening to me rant. And I hope I haven't given you a headache with all of this ridiculousness coming from the Christian world lately. But somebody has to keep an eye on it, and it might as well be me. And until next time, blessed be.